W5FC. Dallas Races Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC.
In about 3 minutes, I'm going to start Skynet. This is N5BB, net control. Does anybody need to use the repeater before I begin Skynet?
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear.
This is in 5BB.
If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is Bill in 5BB. That's November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using a # break break in your call sign. Is there any priority or emergency traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control in 5BB. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station identification or Echolink node 37247. And yes, the Echolink is working, and I'm logged into it right now. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online at www.w5fc.org. Please remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This is in 5BB, Skynet. The net's 90 minutes long, structured in several parts, which I'll whiz through. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, discussion topic of the evening by the net control, was up, space exploration and space history, the constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, and visible satellite passages over the next couple of days if we have time for that, and astronomical questions and answers, all about 73 rounds, which means we leave. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's start with short-time check-ins. Any stations now that can't stay very long, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is in 5BB, Skynet. Short-time check-ins, please. Well, that was easy. Nothing heard. Okay, now let's start with RF check-ins. We're going to do Echolink a little bit later. So RF check-ins to Skynet. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is Skynet in 5BB. Go ahead.
This is Kilo India 5, Kilo Tango Zulu, Philip, White Rock Creek.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Planet Earth.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville. Phil is, but this is Tony, NT in Planet Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob in Dallas.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas.
Let's pause there. Recognize KI5KTZ, Philip, KI5JHA, Chaz, KE5ICX, Tom, NT5TM, Tony, KG5UFR, was that Jacob, is that correct?
That is correct. The name is Jacob, KG5 UFR.
We got you, Jacob. Welcome. WB5OZL. Good to hear you, Brenda. Glad you're still up and going. KF5ZBL. Hello, Bill. It's to Skynet. This is N5BB.
One Golf Bravo Delta on the moon of Forney.
And we have Guy, K1GBD. Well, it's going kind of slow this evening. It is a holiday weekend. Do we have any other RF check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Go India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, Cruise in Arlington.
F5KWZ, Cruise. It's good talking to you this morning, Cruise. Okay, anybody else? Well, we're going kind of slow here. The birthday girl is not here yet. If you didn't realize it, Kelly Miller, K5KTX, today is her birthday. Listening, Kelly, happy birthday. So, we don't have any new people on Echo Link. I'll try one more time. Any check-ins via any mode to Skynet, please come now. This is N5BB.
Whiskey 5, Bacon Lettuce Tomato, W5BLT Bill. Carlin?
NW5BLT. Hello, Bill. I was at Garland City Hall today for the last day of the NASA exhibit there, which was kind of interesting. It's been there for several weeks. Okay, let's move ahead. There'll be time for later check-ins later. Oh, Bobby, WD5BPX. Hey, Bobby, on Echolink. Do you want to check in?
I just almost forgot it tonight. You're recognizing me. So, WD5BPX.
Very good, Bobby. I recognize WD5BPX, Bobby in Wills Point, Texas. Okay, now let's go with general announcements. Are there any general announcements for tonight's net? These can be related to amateur radio, astronomy, space, or just something of general interest to licensed hams. If you have any of those items, please come now with your call sign only.
KF5CLL.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, the first station, I didn't recognize you because you didn't check in, I don't think. The KF5 station, was that Papa Lima Lima? Please give your call phonetically and your name first and your location.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima Lima, Huey Richardson, KF5 ELL. Got it?
Okay, you're very noisy. I copy Kilo Fox 5, Papa Lima Lima, Huey, is that Huey, in Richardson, is that correct?
That is affirmative. N5 blah blah. It's KF5 ELL.
We got you, Huey. Okay, go ahead with your news item.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to unforeseen events related to weather, the Fairview Star Party in Fairview, Texas has been canceled. Good night, all. KF5 ELL.
Okay, that's unfortunate. So the Fairview Star Party has been canceled. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that news item? If so, come now. Thank you very much for the report, Huey. Okay, next, NT5TM. What you got there, Tony?
Well, a few items. I'll try to keep them short. This is a long holiday weekend, and it's a good fox hunting weekend. There are 6 foxes out, of which I've only found 2. Oh, it's a difficult sport. ntxardf.org, November Tango X-Ray, Alpha Romeo Delta Foxtrot. That stands for North Texas Amateur Radio Direction Finding.org. Has a list of all the foxes you can go hunting for this weekend. And good luck to you. It's not 110. It's much safer for fox hunting than it has been in the past few weeks. And of course, while you're looking forward to fox hunting first thing in the morning, we do have another net coming up tonight. We'll be talking about the Zero Theorem tonight at 10:30, plus or minus 5 minutes. This is an old Terry Gilliam film, so this is not an amateur made-in-a-garage movie. It's a pretty serious production. It's pretty wild and crazy. If you've seen it, or even if you haven't, you're welcome to join us tonight at about, again, 10:30-ish, right here on this repeater. Now, tomorrow night, there are 2 nets coming up, but only one is here. The meeting on the air for any amateur who'd like to share what's been going on in their ham world will be taking place right here on the 14688 repeater at 7 p.m. However, tomorrow's Racy's net will be called on 146.96. That's our backup repeater, the Dallas County React VHF repeater. 146.96 is where the Racy's net is at 8 p.m. And finally, of course, we have a couple of wonderful things coming up. Monday night at 7 right here is where we have the Ham Fixins net. I really recommend that you eat before the net. This is the only net I give a safety advisory for, because we're going to talk about recipes, cooking tips, and kitchen anecdotes. If you don't eat before the net, you're going to get really hungry listening to the rest of us talk about what we've been up to in the kitchen during the past couple of weeks. And of course, this Tuesday is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting in person at the Dallas Medical Center. It's a show and tell. Bring something. A ruler, a dental pick, a giant linear power supply that weighs 70 pounds, a rear vacuum tube, a slide rule, a laser pointer. I don't know, whatever you think is cool. Bring something to the meeting to talk about, and if you can, sign up at w5fc.org so we know you're coming. We'll really appreciate that because we're just kind of scratching our heads and we know there's going to be like 20 people who want to talk, but we don't know who they are. Go sign up. w5fc.org is the place to do that, and I'm NT5TM. Thank you.
Very good, Tony. Does anybody have any questions about Tony's news items there? This is N5BB that controls Skynet. So to reiterate, that meeting on the air tomorrow night, this repeater, 7 p.m. Racy's Net, 146.96 tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. for Racy's members only to transmit on. Anybody can listen. Okay, next. AMSAT has a couple of local nets on this repeater nearly every Tuesday, except for this coming week because we have a club meeting. But when we don't have a club meeting on a Tuesday, we have a AMSAT net about amateur satellites Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on this repeater. Normally, Tom N5HYP is net control. Then on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m., there's a similar net on the Arlington 147.140 megahertz repeater. PL tone 110.9 with the positive offset. So if you're interested in amateur satellites, please check in on this frequency at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, except for this coming week. We'll skip it. Or Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 repeater. We have a lot of nets here on this repeater very quickly. On Monday evenings, the first and third weeks of the month, the first and third Mondays, I should say, we have Ham Fixings Net. The second week, Emergency Communication Net. The fourth week, Geek Net, Geeky Things. The fifth week, if there is a fifth Monday, we have a surprise net. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. Tuesdays, I mentioned the AMSAT net. Fridays, the CERT City Simulation Net at 8 p.m. on this repeater. This is talking about emergency things that CERT does, C-E-R-T. On Saturday night, we have TechNet at 7 p.m. and, of course, Skynet at 9 p.m. And then the first and third Sundays of the month, we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air on this repeater at 7 p.m. Every day we have National Traffic System Net, Training Net, at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater every day. And that net has a late session on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater at 9:30 p.m. And just a quick note, currently the Echolink node on the Irving repeater is temporarily off. If I wasn't net control here, I would be completing some software upgrades. It's an old PC, and the software upgrades take forever. Okay. Do you want to tell us more about the Zero Theorem, your Afterglow movie for tonight? N5BB.
Sure I would, Bill. Here is my highly accurate synopsis for tonight's movie. Dr. Shrinkrob was an AI therapist, and he'd been assigned a doozy of a human psycho, Corinne Lynn, a computer programmer who actually didn't like Star Trek or Star Wars. It was obvious the guy was a nutcase, and Shrinkrob had pulled bottom-of-the-barrel duty. Something worse was also on the horizon. Leith had been called back to work after spending most of his life working from home, and the office wasn't a social place he wanted to be. Join us for the Zero Theorem tonight at 10:30. This is one of those confusing movies, so good luck talking about it. I know I'm going to have a challenge. Back to you, Bill, KE5I6.
Thank you very much, Tom. Okay, do we have any late check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Do we have any check-ins?
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, K5 KOB, Philip in Wills Point.
Kilo Charlie 5, Romeo Alpha India, Charles here in Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf, Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, India Victor Juliet, Justin Red Oak.
Okay, we picked up several here. I recognize K5KOB, Philip. Haven't heard you in a while, Philip. KC5RAI, hello, Charles. AG5SG, hi, Antonio. Patrick, KG5APL. Sean, KB9SOK. And Justin, KF5IVJ in Red Oak, which, if you read the article in Dallas Morning News, is going to be getting a huge data center down there from, who was it, Google? Lots of interesting things going on in some of these suburbs and the areas, especially the ones to the south. Okay, any other check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, next up is Chaz. Chaz is going to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Go ahead, Chaz, N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. This is KF5JHA. I'm getting my script up here. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September 22nd. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas and will also be held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Lisa Actor from Lowell Observatory. I'm not quite sure what her topic is, but it's going to be interesting, I'm sure. I think it might be about the library. Saturday public night observing stations have started again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the TASS public observing stations. Now today, the first Saturday of the month, stargazing would have been held at Fairview, but tonight's stargazing was canceled due to clouds. Oh well. Check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control, N5BB.
Thank you very much, Chaz. This is N5BB, net control for Skynet. Next, we have National Space Society, Texas chapter of the National Space Society. We meet on the second Sunday afternoon of each month at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving on Highway 183 at Beltline. Our next meeting is going to be Sunday, September the 10th, a week from tomorrow. Our speaker is Kamisha Simmons, who joined our local chapter here this summer. She's going to be our presenter. She is a lawyer. She's going to be presenting about private property rights in outer space. the Great Debate. She's very knowledgeable on this, and she was speaking in some panels involving space law at the International Space Development Conference in Frisco here in May. So good to hear from Kamisha. Things are getting hot. There's various countries now landing and trying to land on the moon. There's people talking about doing commercial things on the moon. There's various companies that are preparing private space stations around the Earth. So there's a lot of things going on that space law is going to have to resolve. So it'll be interesting. The National Space Society North Texas chapter had a field trip event today. It was at Garland City Hall, the NASA traveling exhibit called Garland and Beyond. This was the last day of this exhibit. It's been going on for several months, a couple of months. And the National Space Society here, we've been there several times on Saturdays with our literature tables and answering people's questions about space. Today was the last day. I was over there for several hours this morning and early afternoon and saw a number of people. It was a very neat exhibit, if you missed it. Besides having the NASA exhibits with some artifacts from the early days of human spaceflight, they had some exhibits for local companies that were here in the North Texas, Garland and other cities, that were involved with doing things for the NASA early programs, like Gemini and Mercury and Apollo. So, very neat presentation there. It is a traveling NASA presentation. So, if you missed it, well, I've been telling you about it for a long time here on this net. So, sorry about that. National Space Society of North Texas, our chapter, has an active Facebook page. We also have a website, it's changed. It's ntx.nss.org. That's NTX, abbreviation for North Texas, .nss.org. If anybody has any questions about any of these things or has interest in the National Space Society, you can contact me. Again, Bill, N5BB. You can contact me via email at n5bb@arrl.net or space, that's SPACE, at byrom.net, BYROM.net. This is N5BB, Skynet. Do we have any comments, questions, or check-ins? Go ahead. Okay. Unfortunately now you need to listen to me some more because now we have the discussion topic of the evening that Net Control presents. I'm going to give you some information about this from several different websites. The first one is from the Smithsonian Magazine website. Hackers target telescopes, forcing them to pause operations. 2 major telescopes in Hawaii and Chile and a handful of smaller observatories have been offline for weeks following an apparent cyber attack. This little article is by Margaret Osborne at Smithsonian Magazine, published yesterday, September the 1st. Hackers have launched an apparent cyber attack on the computer systems of major space telescopes in both Chile and Hawaii, prompting them to temporarily shut down, according to a statement from the National Science Foundation's National Optical Infrared Astronomy Research Laboratory. That's NOIR Lab. On August the 1st, NORLAB officials detected a cyber incident. Quick reactions by the cyber security team and observing teams prevented damage to the observatory. Still, the laboratory suspended operations on its International Gemini Observatory telescopes and a handful of smaller telescopes as a precaution. They took the Gemini website, gemini.edu, offline. Observatories stationed on Kitt Peak in Arizona were unaffected. Like the entire astronomy community, we are disappointed that some of our telescopes are not currently observing, NRI said in an update on August the 24th. Fortunately, we have been able to keep some telescopes online and collect data with in-person workarounds. The International Gemini Observatory consists of twin 8.1-meter diameter telescopes called Gemini North and Gemini South, located atop mountains in Hawaii and Chile. Together, the two telescopes can access nearly the entire sky. The pair of telescopes has helped astronomers view an array of celestial events, including a burst of supernovae, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so there's a statement by NORLAB from the National Science Foundation, updated on August 24th. They're continuing their efforts to diligently investigate and resolve the August 1st cybersecurity incident. This is 23 days later now that occurred in its computer systems. Resulted in the temporary shutdown of Gemini North and South telescopes and smaller telescopes in Chile. So that's what's going on there. So they've had updates on August the 1st, August the 9th, and August the 24th. And that's it. No other information about when they'll get up. There's an article in Science magazine here, published on August the 18th. This is N5BB. This is the AAAS, American Association, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, their journal, Science magazine. Cybertech shutters major NSF-funded telescopes for more than 2 weeks. Astronomers are losing valuable windows for observation, and cybersecurity experts wonder why hackers would target such facilities. So it's rather mysterious. There's no clear resolution to the shutdown in sight, and they're trying to figure out alternatives as critical observation windows spin out of reach. Because remote control of many telescopes is no longer available, some groups may rush graduate students to Chile to relieve exhausted operating instruments there. We're all in this together, says Gautam Narayan, in Astronomy, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, whose team is trying to save its chance to observe new supernovas using one of the affected Chilean telescopes. The astronomy community has a grim determination to press on despite the trying circumstances. Whatever happened may have placed the Gemini telescope in physical jeopardy. In other words, they may have done things which could have physically damaged the telescopes, which could be, of course, things like moving them places they're not supposed to move or other kind of things. So quick reactions by the cybersecurity team and observing teams so far has prevented damage to the observatory. Let's see. So the center, the NORLAB Computer Center, has disconnected its computer network from the mid-scale observatories, the MSO network, from the telescopes in Chile. And the action additionally made remote observations impossible at the Victor M. Blanco 4-meter and the SOAR, the SOAR telescopes. And they stopped observations at 8 other affiliated telescopes in Chile as well. There's a lot of telescopes in Chile. They provided few further details about the matter, even to employees. They declined to answer science's query on whether the incident was a ransomware attack. A spokesman tells Science the center's information technology staff is working around the clock to get the telescopes back into the sky and operational. Multiple international projects, as well as doctoral thesis and papers under development, depend on data from the telescopes. And let's see. For early career researchers, a year-long delay, because they can only take measurements, when they can see things above the horizon at the telescope. A year-long delay could be particularly harmful for early career researchers. When people say, "Oh, where's the data?" they'll have to say, "I don't have any data because a hacker took down a computer." Let's see. They're perplexed about why the Gemini North was a target. Quite possibly the attacker doesn't even know they are attacking an observatory. They may just have found something on the network, on the internet, and didn't realize it was an observatory. This episode is another wake-up call for the astronomy community. This is N5BB, Skynet Net Control. Back in November of last year, that's November 2022, the Atacama Large Millimeter Array radio telescope in Chile also went dark for nearly 2 months as its staff scrambled to respond to a cyber attack. So the problem is because of the nature of astronomical research, with various people accessing it from around the world, to collaborate, it's very difficult to wall it off like you can with a private company or a bank. The best practice would be to firewall everything off, but then all the scientific workflows would get broken. Despite the lack of clarity, astronomers say they are motivated by this latest attack to improve cybersecurity practices at their facilities. The whole astronomical community needs to rethink how it manages its identity and access software, and understand how damaging something as simple as a lost password can be. It doesn't help if you build the strongest, most impenetrable fortress in the world if you forget to lock even a single door or window, said Patrick Lynn, who leads a National Science Foundation-funded space cybersecurity grant. The weakest link is often with us, the humans. So that's all I've got about that very unfortunate news. Okay. I don't see anybody else on Echolink. Do we have any other check-ins, comments, or questions? This is N5BB, Skynet.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Okay, I recognize Ted, WB4MFI, and Virginia, NV5F. Welcome to both of you. Do we have any other check-ins? Next, it's time for Chaz again. Chaz, what's up? KF5JHA, this is N5BB, Skynet.
Good evening again, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet Buzz Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. I'm hearing a buzz over Echolink on my transmission. Let me see what I can do.
Yes, it's very loud on RF also, Chaz. Make sure you have no transformers or monitors near your microphone.
I moved away from the computer. Let's see if that does anything. I still hear a buzz. Hold on. Let's try this one more time. Sounds like it's improved a little bit. All right, this segment of Skynet was up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. That was slide number 1. Slide Master, slide number 2. On August 30th was the full moon. It was the second full moon of the month of August, so it was called the blue moon. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. On September the 6th, the moon phase will be the third quarter. On September the 12th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,291 kilometers. The moon will be new on September the 14th. The first quarter phase of the moon is on September 22nd. September the 27th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 359,911 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. On September the 1st, the moon and Neptune were in conjunction in the morning sky. Wow. On Slide Master, slide number 4, on September the 4th, the moon and Jupiter are in conjunction in the morning sky. That's in the eastern morning sky, I believe. Well, actually, no, that's going to be the western morning sky. 5th, the moon, Uranus, and the star cluster M45 are in conjunction in the morning sky. And Slide Master, slide number 6, the Epsilon Perseid meteor shower peaks on September the 8th and 9th with half a dozen meteors per hour. You can get more information about meteors and meteor shower at the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. On September the 11th, there is a conjunction of Venus, the Moon, and the Beehive star cluster, also known as M44, in the eastern morning sky. Slide number 8, please. On September 13th, you can observe the conjunction of the Moon, Mercury, and Regulus close to the eastern morning sky. It's going to be in very strong twilight. You'll probably need a pair of binoculars to observe this. Slide Master, slide number 9, please. Now, on September the 16th, there's going to be a daytime occultation of Mars by the Moon. This happens from 1:46 to 3:10 p.m. A telescope is needed because it's daylight, but please be careful because the sun is close to the Moon and Mars. Times are calculated for Brookhaven campus of Dallas College. Now, times will vary for other locations. Slide Master, slide number 10, please. Remember that we have 2 solar eclipses coming up very soon. The solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for a very few lucky people on the Earth, the sun is blocked by the moon. At least in part, anyway. Slide Master, slide number 11. The October 14th eclipse is a partial annular solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. But along a path in West Texas and in New Mexico, there's a path where the moon will block out all but a ring or annulus of sunlight from our field of view. The eclipse begins at 10:30 a.m. That's for here in North Texas. The middle of the eclipse is at 11:52 a.m., when about 81% of the sun is covered by the moon. That, again, is for us here in North Texas. And the eclipse ends at 1:29 p.m. Once again, those are predictions for the Brookhaven campus of the Dallas College. Slide Master, slide number 12. And on April the 8th, 2024, is a total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. From the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. Yep, in the afternoon. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky just as if it were evening twilight. It won't be completely dark, but it's going to be like twilight. The next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas will be on July the 9th in the year 2317. So this total solar eclipse on April the 8th, 2024 is a very big deal since it only happens about once every 300 years in North Texas. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 13. Again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September 22nd. The meeting will be at 7:30 p.m. in person and on Zoom. The featured speaker is Lisa Actor. I think she's going to talk about the Lowell Observatory Library and resources. And of course, public observing sessions have happened again, but unfortunately tonight's was canceled because of the clouds. Once again, texasastro.org is the place to find out information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Now, Slide Master, slide number 14. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
KG5APL.
I believe that was APL. Come now with your question or comment or fill that you need.
Hey all, this is KG5APL. Yeah, I guess I have a comment and a question. I guess with the comment, I just spent the last couple of weeks up in Yellowstone and Grand Tetons, had a great observing sessions up there. Actually saw the, never before seen it before, but just about every other day saw a Starlink train of satellites. But yeah, lots of comments, lots of just beautiful Milky Way, all the great sky. But my question is around with binoculars. I wear glasses and I am so blind, and I couldn't decide which I hated worse, using the binoculars with my glasses or without my glasses. And I guess my question is for you or anyone else out there, what do y'all prefer to the glasses wearers? Do you prefer to use glasses, not glasses? And then any tips on how to cope with it? Okay, that's it. Back to you, KG5APL.
That's a great question, and let me give you an answer. Binoculars are great for people with glasses or without glasses, and if you are wearing glasses, binoculars are wonderful. You can use your glasses or not use your glasses with binoculars because the binoculars are an optical system. Now, what's interesting is with most people with eyeglasses, they have different prescriptions or they have different vision in each of the eyes. And most binoculars will have an adjustment where you can adjust one of the sides of the binoculars for one eye, and then you focus with the main focusing device on the for the entire binocular. So that's the great thing, is you can actually adjust the focus for left and right eye differently on most binoculars. Did that answer your question? This is KF5JHA.
Yeah, I mean, that's all really good information. Yeah, I know, yeah, definitely focusing the left eye, focusing the right eye, of course. I think it's just the nature of my poor eyes have to cope with it. But yeah, I think with glasses is the lesser of the two evils. But yeah, thank you for that information, and I appreciate everything. Back to you, KG5APL.
Thank you so much for your question. Yeah, the same thing goes with telescopes. You can either use your glasses or not use your glasses. The focus will be a little bit different on the telescope if you use your glasses versus not using your glasses. But again, because it's an optical system, it can help correct for your vision, so that's pretty cool. So, Slide Master, slide number 15. So is the moon wane, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least for now. And until next time, actually I might be doing another segment on Skynet here in a few minutes, as long as we have time. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Bill, N5BB, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chaz. Do we have any additional check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, recheck.
Okay, I got Tony. Were there any other check-ins? Nothing from Echolink. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Bill. I suspect we may have a problem on Echolink, or we had one earlier tonight. I see Catherine, Kilo Bravo 8, Delta Alpha Alpha, KB8, DAA in Addison, in the Yahoo Stream Chat, or YouTube, excuse me, YouTube Stream Chat saying she could not get into Echolink. So that's KB8, DAA trying to check in on Echolink. NT5TM.
Okay, don't know. Several of us are checked in, and with another station, Cruise, KF5KWG, just checked in also. So I do not know. Does anybody know her or know how to reach her, to see if we can help her with her problems? I'll repeat my question. Does anybody know KB8DAA? Well, I don't know what to say. Cruz said he couldn't get in, but he rebooted his iPad and it worked. So maybe she can reboot her computer and try it. I do not know. Tom, K5ICX, are you still here? I think there was a problem earlier. Did it get resolved?
Well, Bill, I don't know. People are getting in, so I had to do a fix. I had to reboot my own router.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood. The net control of TechNet said that Echolink wasn't working. Was it working earlier?
Bill, it's been up for about a couple hours now. KE5I6.
Okay, so Tony, do you know if she was having trouble a couple of hours ago, or just, well, maybe she's trying to check into Skynet, obviously, recently. Well, nothing more I can do about it, Tony. Do you have any other comments, Tony, or information?
No, I just happened to see that in the YouTube comments and wanted to relay her in. NT5TM.
Okay, well, thank you. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions or late check-ins for Skynet? This is N5BB. Okay, sorry for the delay there. I was just trying to handle those concerns and not ignore them. Okay, so let's now move to Brenda, WB5OZL, with Space Exploration News. Take it away, Brenda. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. This is WB5OZL. First up, NASA completes the last OSIRIS-REx test before asteroid sample delivery. A team led by NASA in Utah's West Desert is in the final stages of preparing for the arrival of the first U.S. asteroid sample, slated to land on Earth in September. A mock-up of NASA's OSIRIS-REx, which stands for Origins Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, and Security Regolith Explorer. Sample capsule was dropped Wednesday from an aircraft and landed at the drop zone at the Department of Defense's Utah Test and Training Range in the desert outside Salt Lake City. This is part of the mission's final major test prior to arrival of the actual capsule on September 24th with its sample of asteroid Bennu, collected in space almost 3 years ago. We are now mere weeks away from receiving a piece of solar system history on Earth, and this successful drop test ensures we're ready, said Nicola Fox, Associate Administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate in Washington. Pristine material from asteroid Bennu will help shed light on the formation of our solar system 4.5 billion years ago, and perhaps even on how life on Earth began. This drop test follows a series of earlier rehearsals, capsule recovery, spacecraft engineering operations, and special curation procedures conducted earlier this spring. Now, with less than 4 weeks until the spacecraft's arrival, the OSIRIS-REx team is nearing the end of rehearsals and is ready for the actual delivery. Now, the moon. This week we were treated to the beautiful sight of a rare blue supermoon. A blue moon, of course, is where we have a full moon twice in a month, which occurs generally only every few years. The term blue moon originated from the 16th century expression, the moon is blue, meaning something that was impossible. For 2 years following the eruption of Krakatoa volcano in Indonesia in 1883, people around the world reported seeing strangely colored sunsets and a moon that appeared blue. With this possible but uncommon occurrence, once in a blue moon came to mean rather rare rather than impossible. And the reason why it's a supermoon is because it's closest to the Earth, and it appears 14% larger than when it's at its farthest. Amateur astronomers spot a new impact on Jupiter. Jupiter just got smacked by a small celestial body, according to amateur astronomers. The impact occurred at 1:45 a.m. Japan Standard Time on August 29th, and an account affiliated with the Organized Auto Telescopes for Serendipitous Events Survey, OASIS, Project and Planetary Observation Camera for Optical Transient Surveys, PONCOTS, system posted about the event on X, formerly known as Twitter, alerting of a flash observed in Jupiter's atmosphere. The post also called on observers to check their own footage. NASA, that's M-A-S-A, Planetary Log later shared footage showing a brief burst of light. If you can see the image, you see the little, it's easy to spot, little flash coming from Jupiter that was associated with an apparent comet or asteroid impact. Another independent observation was made by a Chinese amateur astronomer in the city of Xinjiang, Henan province, showing a flash at the same spot on Jupiter's dense, turbulent atmosphere. Okay, birthdays. We have Lee Randolph, August 28th, 1960. He flew on STS-65, 7292, and Soyuz TMA-5 Expedition 10. Thomas Washburn, August 29th, 1860. STS-127, Soyuz 07M, Expedition 3435, SpaceX Crew 3, Expedition 6667. And Jack Swigert, August 30th, 1931, Apollo 13. K. Megan MacArthur, August 30th, 1971, STS-125, SpaceX Crew 2, Expedition 64 and 65. Christopher Ferguson, September 1st, 1961, STS-115, 126, and 135. Then Chris McAuliffe, September 2nd, 1948, STS-51L, which of course was the Challenger explosion. And sadly, we lost everyone on board. This week in space history, September 1st, 1979, Pioneer 2 encounter with Saturn. According to a 2019 NASA article written on the occasion of this milestone's 40th anniversary, on September 1st, 1979, Pioneer 2 passed within 13,000 miles of Saturn's cloud tops at a velocity of 71,000 miles per hour. During the encounter, it sent back data on the planet, its rings, and its satellites, including 440 images. Based on the data, scientists learned that Saturn's atmosphere consists mostly of liquid hydrogen and confirmed that the planet had a magnetic field. Images of Saturn's moon Titan revealed an orange cloud-shrouded globe with a global temperature of minus 315 degrees Fahrenheit. Pioneer 2 discovered 2 new moons and 1 new ring orbiting Saturn. The spacecraft completed its study of the ringed planet in October 1979. Oh, I am told it is Pioneer 11. Whoops. Sorry about that. Then we have Mariner 2. This week in 1962, August 27th, Mariner 2 was launched, becoming the first successful mission to explore another planet, the enigmatic, intimidating Venus, in December that year. This mission set the stage for future Venus explorations, including those made by the Magellan space probe during the 1990s. And the Nimbus launch. On August 28, 1964, the first Nimbus satellite was launched, which provided unprecedented images of Earth's weather systems, allowing for early storm preparations. At Wright, Hurricane Gladys was imaged by Nimbus 1 in September 1964. While the Nimbus satellite program has been long retired, next-generation weather satellites, such as the current GOES system, continue to allow for early storm detection and prediction. Tropical storm Idalia is currently being monitored by these newer satellites, a testament to Nimbus's heritage. That's all I have. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Do we have any late check-ins, comments, or questions? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, Chaz, your time again for Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week and your famous jokes. KF5JHA N5BB, Skynet. Take it away, Chaz.
It's funny that famous and infamous mean the same thing, yeah. Slide Master, slide number 16. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we have continued that tradition and the constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is Vulpecula, the little fox, as well as Sagitta or Sagitta, the arrow. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. The jokes of the week. Yeah, for those of you that might have been watching the Texas Rangers game and the Minnesota Twins game, the Rangers lost by a score of 7-9 to the Twins. They were in first place, but now they're in third place. Remember, Sagitta or Sagitta is one of the constellations as an arrow. How do you tell if an arrow is nervous? You can see if it quivers. Why does the arrow on the computer screen use a lot of profanity? You didn't know that? Oh yeah, it's because it's a cursor. How do you improve your archery? With better aerodynamics. Okay, so we've talked about arrows. Let's talk about foxes. Why were the foxes hunting rabbits? Because they were in the mood for fast food. Why was the fox stuck in the past? Because it was a 20th century fox. You know, the movie thing. Okay, never mind. Where did the fox go to buy a new tail? To the retail store, of course. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. Sagitta, this constellation has been described as an arrow since ancient times by various cultures. The arrow itself is linked with various myths, but the most often cited one is the arrow that Hercules used to kill the eagle sent by Zeus to torture Prometheus for giving the gift of fire to man. Wow, what an interesting story. Slide Master, slide number 19. Sham, also known as Alpha Sagitta. Yeah, well, I was trying to use the genitive name for it. The name Sham is derived from the Arabic word al-sham, which is means the word arrow. This star is designated as Alpha, but it's actually the third brightest star in the constellation at magnitude 4.4. The brightest star in Sagitta is Gamma Sagitta, which is magnitude 3.5. Gamma is the star that forms the arrow's head. Sham is the other end of the arrow, forming part of the arrow's fletchlings, or feathers. Slide Master, slide number 20. M71 is generally considered to be a globular cluster today, although decades there was a controversy over whether it was a dense open cluster or a loose globular cluster. In binoculars, M71 can be carefully picked out of the Milky Way background as a small, faint glow. Slide Master, slide number 21. NGC 6886 is a planetary nebula. It is one of the many planetaries that are so small that it looks like a star until you really crank up the magnification. Large aperture helps, like Dave Hutchinson's 16-inch Dobsonian. With this scope, Dave Hutchinson said that he is fairly confident that he had found it. At 300 power, it appeared to be non-stellar. You only can get 300 power under really good conditions. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 22, please. Vulpecula, the fox, was originally created in the year 1687 by the Polish astronomer Helvetius to fill in the space between Cygnus and the arrow. If you arrange all 80 constellations alphabetically, Vulpecula is the very last one on the list, so it appears at the very end of the last volume of Burnham's Celestial Handbook. Vulpecula is the 55th constellation in size and occupies only an area of 268 square degrees. Slide Master, slide number 23. Alpha Vulpecula is also known as 6 Vulpecula. It is a red giant star that is about 250 light years away. It shines at a magnitude of 4.4 as seen from the Earth. In binoculars, a comparison star can be seen that is not noticeable to the unaided eye. This star is 8 Vulpecula, an orange giant star that shines at magnitude 5.8. The two stars form a visual double only. They're not a true binary system. This star is easily split in the 80 millimeter short focus refractor, which is about the same size as binoculars. Since in the scope Alpha looked yellow, while Vulpecula 8 looked a yellow-orange. So they're slightly different colors. Okay, this is a quiz. What is the proper name for Alpha Orionis? That's Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. What is the proper name for Alpha Leonis? That's Regulus. What's the proper name for Alpha Lyra? That sounds big and familiar to me. Oh, come on, that was a funny joke. Alpha Vulpecula has a proper name. Do you know what it is? Well, Alpha Vulpecula is called Answer. Answer is the Latin for goose, which derives from the fact that the original name for this constellation was Vulpecula with Answer, which means the little fox with a goose. Indeed, early pictorial star atlases shows the constellation with a drawing of a fox bearing a goose in its mouth. So one more time, what is the proper name for Alpha Vulpecula? You might say the question answers itself. You see the star is called Answer. Yeah, okay. Slide Master, slide number 24. Colander 399, also known as the Coat Hanger Nebula, or Brocchi's cluster. The coat hanger can be seen with the unaided eye in dark skies as an unresolved patch of light. It is easy to resolve in a distinctive coat hanger shape with even the smallest telescopes, making it an easy binocular or even a finder scope object. It looks great in an 80 millimeter short refractor. The Dynamax, that's an 8-inch telescope at 41 power, takes about 3 fields of view to see it from side to side. I've seen it in binoculars. The best view I usually find is in the 20 by 80 binoculars that I have. The 6 stars in the hook area field of view in most telescopes in this respect at lowest power. In this respect, the coat hanger is somewhat like the Pleiades. It's best viewed in low power, wide field instruments like binoculars. For many years, the coat hanger was believed to be an open cluster, but recent studies have shown that it's not a true cluster at all, but just really a chance alignment of stars. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 25, please. Now, if you want to look at something dumb, M27 would be it, because M27 is also known as the Dumbbell Nebula, discovered by Charles Messier himself in July of 1764. Burnham's Celestial Handbook describes M27 as the most conspicuous planetary nebula in the entire sky for small instruments, with a total magnitude of about 8. It is easily found in large binoculars. I've seen it in my 20 by 80 binoculars. A large apparent size of this nebula classifies it as possibly one of the nearest of the planetary nebulas. Current estimates of its distance places it at about 815 light years away. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 26. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects than the constellation of Vulpecula, the Little Fox, and Sagitta, the Arrow. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count that I've made, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn a certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 27, and that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, Vulpecula, the little fox, and Sagitta, or Sagitta, the arrow. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research, words, and deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. And also at times I use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time we'll take a look at Cygnus the Swan. And this is KF5 JHA sending it back to our net control. Bill, it's all back to you. 73, everyone. Have a great week.
Well, thank you, Chaz. Do we have any additional check-ins, comments, or questions? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, nobody new on Echolink. Tom, K50ICX. Can you tell us about space launches for this week? I do know there was a launch from Vandenberg this morning. K5ICX and 5BB. Skynet, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Well, yeah, that was earlier today. We do have a launch tomorrow. We've got Starlink 6-12 that'll launch from Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy. This will be another batch of second-generation Starlink P2 mini internet satellites. The first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have the to be determined. I don't have a date on this. In fact, all the rest of these are that. So we have from Agashima Space Center in Japan. This would be Japanese H-2A rocket. F-47 will launch an X-ray imaging and spectroscopy mission, or X-RISE, a joint project between Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and NASA. We also have coming up an Atlas V, the NROL 107 mission. This will be from SLC-41 from Cape Canaveral. The Atlas V rocket will launch NROL 107 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office, ship between NRO and U.S. Space Force, which has disclosed little information about the payload other than it will focus on satellite threat intelligence and space situational awareness. We have a launch on September 15th coming up, Soyuz MS-24. This is from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch crewed Soyuz MS-24 spacecraft to the International Space Station. The mission will carry Russian Commander Oleg Komenenko, Russian flight engineer Nikolai Chubb, and NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara into orbit for long-duration flight on the space station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. There'll be a flight on September 26th, launch of an Atlas V project Kuiper. This will be from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. The first two demonstration satellites, Amazon's Project Kuiper broadband constellation, will launch on an Atlas 501 rocket. Satellites were originally scheduled to fly in the first Vulcan rocket. On September 29th, via Falcon 9, launch USS F-124 from SLC-40. This is a mission for the U.S. Space Force and Missile Defense Agency. August 20th, there will be a launch of Worldview Region 1 and 2 from SLC-4E at Vandenberg. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch the first pair of Worldview Region Earth observation satellites from Maxar Technologies. They plan to deploy commercial Worldview Region high-resolution remote sensing satellites into a mix of subsynchronous and mid-inclination orbits on 3 SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets. And that's it for me, Bill. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Well, very good, Tom. Do we have any additional check-ins, comments, or questions? There's nobody new on Echolink. This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, Brenda, WB50ZL. Can you tell us about recent astronomical discoveries? This is N5BB.
Certainly. This is WB50ZL. This is an article from Science Daily. It's entitled Webb Reveals New Structures Within Iconic Supernova. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has begun the study of one of the most renowned supernovae, SN 1987A, or supernova 1987A, located 168,000 light years away in the Large Magellanic Cloud. SN 1987A has been a target of intense observations at wavelengths ranging from gamma rays to radio for nearly 40 years. Since its discovery in February of 1987, new observations by Webb's NIRCam, near-infrared camera, provide a crucial role to our understanding of how a supernova develops over time to shape its remnant. This image reveals a central structure like a keyhole. The center is packed with clumpy gas and dust ejected by the supernova explosion. The dust is so dense that even near-infrared light that Webb detects can't penetrate it, shaping the dark hole in the keyhole. A bright equatorial ring surrounds the inner keyhole, forming a band around the waist that connects two faint arms of hourglass-shaped outer rings. The equatorial ring, formed from material ejected tens of thousands of years before the supernova explosion, contains bright hot spots which appeared as the supernova's shock wave hit the ring. These spots are found even exterior to the ring, with diffuse emissions surrounding it. These are the locations of supernova shocks hitting more exterior material. While these structures have been observed to varying degrees by NASA's Hubble and Spitzer space telescopes and Chandra X-ray Observatory, the unparalleled sensitivity and spatial resolution of Webb revealed a new feature in this supernova remnant. Small crescent-like structures. These crescents are thought to be a part of the outer layers of gas shot out from the supernova explosion. Their brightness may be an indication of limb brightening, an optical phenomenon that results from viewing the expanded material in 3 dimensions. In other words, our viewing angle makes it appear that there is more material in these two crescents than there may actually be. The high resolution of these images is also noteworthy. Before Webb, the now retired Spitzer telescope observed this supernova in infrared throughout its entire lifespan, yielding key data about how its emissions evolved over time. However, it was never able to observe the supernova with such clarity and detail. Despite the decades of study since the supernova's initial discovery, there were several mysteries that remain, particularly surrounding the neutron star that should have been formed on the aftermath of the supernova explosion. Like Spitzer, Webb will continue to observe the supernova over time. Its NIRSpec, that's near-infrared spectrograph, in MIRI, mid-infrared instrument. Its instruments will offer astronomers the ability to capture new, high-fidelity infrared data over time and gain new eyesights into the newly identified crescent structures. Further, Webb will continue to collaborate with Hubble, Chandra, and other observatories to provide new insights into the past and future of this legendary supernova. Okay, back to net. This is WB50ZL.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. Do we have any additional check-ins, comments, or questions? This is N5BB Skynet. Okay, nobody new on Echolink. Tom, K5ICX. Are there any interesting visible satellite passages? I noticed there is a ISS pass that's reasonably high on September the 7th coming up. Anyway, anything interesting coming up you want to talk about on satellite, visible satellite passes? K5ICX, 5BB.
Yeah, Bill, I'll give you 3 good ISS passes, and we'll call it a night. You're right, September 7th, minus 2.0 magnitude, 6:22 a.m. Out of the north-northwest, reaches highest point at 34 degrees at 6:25, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 6:28. Then we have on September 9th, minus 3.8 magnitude, 6:21 in the morning, and reaches highest point 68 degrees at 6:25, and it'll fall to the southeast at 6:28. And then on September 10th, following evening, there's actually 2 passes, but the better of the 2 is at 5:35 a.m. This one's at, it'll start at 32 degrees, so it'll come out of shadow, reach its highest point at 58 degrees at 5:36, and it'll fall at 5:39 to the east-southeast. All this information is available, of course, at heavensabove.com. Go there. You just plug in your latitude and longitude, and it will give you information. No special programming required. It'll also give you information on amateur satellites as well, if you're looking for that, and it'll give you the past information there. That's it, Bill. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I've got street lights, lots of trees, and a hospital building visible from in various directions. So I like to have passes that go pretty close to the zenith. So even those ones at 68 degrees, they're about, if it's much lower than that, it just gets hard for me to see. Okay. So, that's everything that we have scripted here for the net. Does anybody have any comments or questions or late check-ins before we close Skynet? This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo, net control. Okay, tonight we had 22 hymns participating on the air. Thanks to all of you who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net control stations. Send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter. X. As well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going at w5sc.org at the conclusion of this net. Need to update the script, Tom. There's no more Twitter. It's X. Until next Saturday night, this is Bill N5BB.
I'm completely operational and all my...
Returning the repeater normal use for Afterglow. 73s, everybody. Go ahead and Tom. What's going on with Afterglow? N5BB. Clear.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Great net. We will commence Afterglow in 5 minutes. Come back in about 5 minutes, and we'll check in. Tonight's movie is The Zero Theorem from 2013. We'll see you then. KE5ICX. Clear for now. Okay, 5 minutes are up. Run back to the radio. It's time for You Know What, the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is a interesting film directed by Terry Gilliam, so expect something confusing, different, and wildly crazy, and that's exactly what we got. This film is another one of those satirical dystopian films that fill out a trilogy, you may recall, of Brazil from 1985, 12 Monkeys from 1995, and then this film called The Zero Theorem in 2013. Now, in case you were completely confused and watched the film the other night, or even today, I'm going to go through the plot because, quite honestly, I found it rather interestingly difficult to follow, but that's me. So here we go. I'll give you the plot, and then we'll talk about the rules for tonight's net, and we'll go forward. So here it is. In a bizarre cyberpunk future of the mid-21st century, Colin Leith, an eccentric and reclusive programmer who refers to himself in plural, works crunching entities for the ontological research division of a large company called Mancon. He does not like having to leave the quiet, fire-damaged church in which he lives, travels the bright, crowded, and polluted streets, and work in a noisy office, and fears missing a mysterious phone call he has been expecting for years, so he requests disability leave and permission to work from home. So he points to the fact that all of his hair has fallen out as evidence that he is dying. 3 company doctors determine he is physically healthy and do not require he start sessions with Dr. Shrinkram, an AI therapist. Cohen attends a party thrown by his supervisor, Joby, so he can talk to management, their boss. He requests permission to work from home, saying he would be more productive and mentioning his call, which he says he hopes will provide his life with purpose. Management at first calls Cohen insane, but later says he has a special project for Cohen that he thinks might prove mutually beneficial. The project is the Zero Theorem, an extremely complex mathematical formula with a reputation for quickly exhausting or killing anyone who tries to solve it. Cohen spends months locked in his home working on it and becomes increasingly deranged, but as the entities refuse to remain crunched and Mancom's demands for processed data is relentless. In frustration, he smashes his workstation with a hammer, destroying it permanently. Everybody's wanted to do that. Joby comes by to check on Cohen and says he knows someone he thinks can help. He sends over Bainsley, a young woman Cohen had met at Joby's party, who knocks on Cohen's door dressed in a sexy nurse outfit. She cleans up a bit and they talk. Cohen confides that the call he is waiting for is a callback from someone he once accidentally hung up on, whom he believes will tell him the meaning of life, saying she will be right back until he leaves. Bob, the teenage son of management, visits Cohen to repair his computer. Cohen says he has decided to quit, but Bob tells him management is not done with him, and so he cannot. Ambivalent about his father, Bob reveals that Bainsley was paid to spend time with Cohen and then offers to get Cohen. When Bainsley returns, she gives Cohen an advanced VR suit, and they arrange to meet up through her website. Cohen clicks on a link and finds himself with hair on a virtual beach with Bainsley. He's concerned that it's not real, but she assures him it is better than real, and they end up kissing. The next day, Bob visits Cohen again. He explains that proving the Zero Theorem will prove life is meaningless by affirming the Big Crunch theory, which Cohen does not want to believe. Unable to focus on work, he virtually meets with Bainsley again. Is troubled that the sun never sets on her beach, so she invites him to imagine an environment for them to inhabit, and he ends up sending them to a vortex around the black hole that's been haunting his dreams. Back on the beach, Bainsley confronts Cohen, and they embrace, but when he suggests they stay in the virtual world together and denounces management, he is forcibly disconnected from the system, and his VR suit is remotely destructed. When Cohen goes to Bainsley's website at an unplanned time, he discovers her performing a webcam stripper and logs off abruptly. He later returns to the site and finds his access has been blocked as his IP address has been blacklisted, preventing him from accessing the site. Weeks later, Bob returns with Cohen's VR suit, which he says he has turned into a prototype soul-searching device. Bob gets Dr. Shrinkram to confirm that the phone call Cohen is waiting for is a delusion, but says the upgraded suit has the ability to connect Cohen with his soul, assuming he has one. Ainsley arrives and says that while she initially agreed to seduce Cohen because Joby said she could keep her VR suit if she did so, she developed real feelings for Cohen. She offers to run away with him, but Cohen turns her down. He and Bob take a break from work and go to a park where Cohen reveals he was once married. Back at the church, Bob's health declines rapidly and Cohen cares for him. Once Bob is asleep, Cohen finds and smashes the cameras management hid throughout the building. Two of management's employees break in and take Bob away, and later Joby drops by to blame Cohen for getting him fired. Once alone, Cohen dons his upgraded VR suit and tries to connect to his computer, but there's a problem. He is electrocuted. Finding himself in front of a neural net Mancrave, a massive supercomputer that is the destination for all entities crunched by the employees at Mancom, Cohen is greeted by management, who tells him Bob had been hospitalized due to chronic illness. Cohen asks if management is real or just in his mind, and is told it does not matter. He is now part of a neural net. He asks what the point of his life is, but management says he does not know, as Mancom is still crunching the data that he believes the universe came from and will return to chaos. Management states his goal was never to prove life has no meaning, but to improve his models so he can make more money by bringing order to the natural disorder. The reason Cohen was chosen to work on Zero Theorem is that he was a man of faith, which represents the antithesis of management's project. Unfortunately, management says the faith that led Cohen to spend his life waiting for the phone call he believed would give his life meaning caused him to live a meaningless life. After saying he no longer requires Cohen's services, management disappears. Cohen destroys the neural net, which blows open, revealing the black hole vortex from his nightmare inside. So now there are countless pictures, including one of Bainsley swirling towards the center. He begins to walk away, but turns back and, smiling, jumps into the vortex. Alone on a virtual beach, a calm, naked, and still bald Cohen stands looking out to sea. He goes over to where he had a picnic with Bainsley and picks her bikini top off the sand. The beach ball floats by and he throws it up in the air a few times before he does the same thing with the sun, which then sets. Mixed in with the music as the credits begin, Bainsley can be heard calling Cohen's name and laughing. And now we're going to discuss what that all means, because I'd like to know. So we're going to start with check-ins. I'm going to take check-ins from everyone who's out there who would like to talk about the film. If you haven't seen it, it's okay. You can still check in. We'd like to know who's out there. We may ask you, did any of this make any sense to you when we describe our feelings about the film? Otherwise, we will begin the first round talking about the plot, followed by characterization, followed by special effects. And then we close the net down. It'll be about 90 minutes long. So I'll start with check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, and did you see the Zero Theorem from 2013? Let's begin.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. I was too busy fox hunting. I did not see the Zero Theorem, although that is the longest movie summary I've ever heard.
Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garland. I couldn't get the link to load for some reason, so I did not see the movie. We'll just listen tonight.
This may be a quick net. Let me go ahead and get those two. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, no, he did not see the movie. W5BLT, Bill in Garland, no, he did not see the movie. Depends on when you check the link, Bill. I updated it. It had gone off one of the sites, and then it was still on another, so you may have had the older link. these things come and go so quickly, it's sometimes hard to keep up with them. So that may be the reason why. Anyone else want to check in? Tonight's movie is The Zero Theorem from 2013.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. This is Brenda, and yes, I did see this movie.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf. I'm way too early to check in for this. Yes, cruise on the crater Clavius.
November, Victor 5, Foxtrot. This is Virginia. And I'm at Moonbase 3, and I did see the movie.
Amy, let me pick up those three. At WB50ZL, Brenda, yes, she saw the film. KI5KWG, Cruz, yes, he saw the film. And NV5S, Virginia, over at Moonbase 3, which is the European Moonbase, in case anybody was wondering. She says, yes, she saw the movie. Anyone else like to check in, please come now. Okay, well, this may be a fast one tonight. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and start with those who saw the film, because otherwise it's very difficult to really discuss a film if you have no idea what it was about and you have a plot. Number one, did you understand the plot? Because I found it rather difficult to follow. Number two, what did you think about the plot? Number three, did the plot actually have an ending? Brenda, go right ahead from the KE5I6.
This is WB50ZL. Of course I understood the plot. It was perfectly clear from the very start. I was worried for a while that it was just going to be such a muddled mess. We'd never figure anything out of it. But it started to shape up midway through, and I thought it was a very fascinating premise. Let's see, what was number two? Would you tell me again what question number two is?
I think I said something about, did it make any sense to you?
Which is different from did I understand it? Yeah, it did make sense. This is one of the oldest questions the man grapples with. What does it all mean? Why am I here? Am I just an insignificant little ant? Or am I really something special? And so, you know, it's a common theme. Did it end? We don't know. He ended up at the beach, and then we heard her voice, and we're not really sure whether she came along too or he's just hearing the voice. So it's inconclusive plot endings, which you can read into it whatever you want. And I did. I think that she joined him there, and they had many happy years building sandcastles. It was unique, a very unique plot. Terry Gilliam, of course, he's very good, very creative. I could see where a lot of people would have went, well, that's just stupid, you know, this doesn't make any sense. But I was okay with it being kind of weird to start with. The movie tanked. It lost a lot of money. So even though I liked it, obviously a lot of people didn't. And I'm not sure it was good enough to get a wide audience It was just a little too strange. But, well, I enjoyed it. The characters were great. There's just a lot, had a lot going for it. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, that was interesting. I don't know if it was informative, but it was interesting. Okay, next is Cruz. Now, Cruz took notes, and he actually was making some comments about nihilism and all that. Last night, when we were watching the movies together separately, this is four of us there watching the film and making comments back and forth. Cruz had the most comments that were coherent. Everyone else kind of either their heads hit the keyboard and left a little gibberish or other things. But Cruz, KI5KWG, what did you think about the plot to our fine film this week?
KI5KWG, yes, I always take notes. And the chat sessions are always all over the place. It's a shotgun sort of tactic in there, but it's usually a lot of fun, I've noticed. So I'm glad we do that. Okay, plot. Ostensibly, this was about a man waiting on a phone call, which he accidentally had hung up years before, apparently, and thought that the person on the other end of that phone call was about to basically tell him what his purpose and meaning in life was. And so he had a neurotic tendency to lunge at the phone every time it rang, and when it wasn't that person calling back to tell him the meaning of life and his purpose and all that. Yes, I know, it's 42. He was obviously traumatized every time. So that seemed to be what the plot was. And we resolved that plot at the ending by him no longer worried about the missing a phone call and no longer locking himself in. In fact, towards the end of the film, he was basically, the door was either wide open or people just coming and going freely through it, no longer locked. I thought that was pretty cool imagery. But I got a little ahead of myself there. I'm already at the end of the film. I thought it was really interesting the way it started. I was intrigued. I had no idea what it meant. I figured there was probably going to be meaning in this, and there was, I thought. About halfway through, I gave up on this being a comedy, which I kept thinking it might turn into be. And I started thinking, this is like a Quentin Tarantino film. It reminds me of that. And but I was going, that's not quite it. And then when they kept going on about the meaning, and I realized the telephone call neuroses had gone away, and suddenly he was having friends and accepting help of others instead of being a recluse in a burned-out church. That symbolism was pretty obvious. And a romance even. Virtual, maybe. I'm not sure. But I realized that this was a more meaningful plot. And then I thought, and I'm going to reset here. William Blady, the guy that wrote The Exorcist, he actually had a prequel to that called, two things. It was first called Twinkle, Twinkle, Killer Kane, and then retitled, I think, when it was turned into a screenplay from a book, called The Ninth Configuration. And that film came out in about 1980, and I was sitting in the theater with about 20 other people, and I would think I was the only one who enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I loved it. And but it did not do well at the box office either. But it was the same thing. It was about, is there meaning in this insane world? You've got one guy who's desperate for it, and a few others that kind of like, okay, yeah, that would be really important, but that's not what we're about. And then towards the end, you realize he kind of has his answer, and it's also kind of up to you to say, what was his answer? Okay, there was my run on the plot, but yeah, I like this film a lot, and thank you, Brenda, for picking it out. KI5, KWG, back to you. Yeah.
Q Cruise, and that'll help me when I crib off of all your notes. And next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, your thoughts on the plot for tonight's movie, The Zero Theorem from 2013 from KE5ICX.
Okay, well, I did watch it last night with a bunch of other people, and when it started, I was paying more attention to the Chinese food I was eating than I was to the open credits, so I didn't realize it was Terry Gilliam until the end. I'm not a big fan of his. I think he's kind of weird for the sake of being weird, but I think a lot of big art filmmakers are like that, and I just like a story to just be a story, and the meaning is not so heavy-handed in a story. That I appreciate that a little bit more than a story that's obviously kind of geared to make the subtext part more obvious, and symbolism is right in your face and all that. It's like a student film, except with really, really high production values. But I think all of his films are like that. Some of them are much worse than others, so I'll get off that soapbox now. I thought that the setup was interesting. The reclusive guy living in the old church, very Quasimodo, which I'm a big Hunchback fan. It had some promising things. The future environment that they set up was kind of a cool projection of what things could be like in 50 years. And a lot of it, even in the last 10 years, a lot of it's almost like some of those ideas have been sort of accelerated since the movie came out, and might even be more closer to coming true, now than we thought they would have been. And I found the plot a little confusing, and part of it, I'll admit, is that a lot of times when I'm watching a movie that isn't like a favorite or so straightforward, a lot of times I'll just get wound up in what we're chatting about and not pay that much attention, knowing that Cruz will take notes, and if I can get on the lineup after him, then I can go off of the synopsis and all his brilliant notes that he took. But I thought, as far as plots go, I actually thought it was a real plot. The Zero Theorem was, and the management, I guess, were kind of the antagonist, and it didn't have a real specific, good guy, bad guy kind of thing, but we're, definitely rooting for Cohen, and the fact that no one could pronounce his name except for the little gal who takes an interest in him. And I'm with Cruz. As far as the meaning, it was fairly clear to me, because I'm in a part of my life where I'm actually dealing with some of that kind of, hey, I've been waiting for a long time for some kind of resolve to all the sense of needing a purpose that I have felt since I was young. I'm one of those idealistic people who kind of always felt like there was something special for me to do and be about, and I feel like I've kind of been waiting for that phone call all my life. And I see an entire culture built around that idea, and now I'm very disenchanted with that culture and that idea. And not that I have anything against the people or that idea itself, but I think there is something pretty deep going on here about the meaning in just being in the moment and being with the people you're with and enriching them and letting them enrich you, helping them, letting them help you, and that not looking specifically for purpose is the best way to kind of find your purpose. I have actually been dealing with a lot of that lately. So this actually, as much as I'm not a big fan of necessarily the plot being pretty specifically geared around a kind of obvious philosophical thing, at the same time I can relate to that thing, and I see that in the plot, and I think it's, like I said, I think it's a pretty decent plot, and the characters, we'll get into that next round, but the characters were driving the story, and the symbolism of the, like Cruz said, the symbolism of the burned out church and all that was pretty obvious. And I am a person of faith, and I am not, that doesn't really bother me because I can completely understand the disenchantment with certain ways of approaching faith that have made it kind of work for the people who have had things go their way more than others. So I'm getting a little bit self-involved now. So anyway, plot was all right. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the director or the film. Like, I'll probably never want to watch it again. But I thought it was okay, and I couldn't really, it was hard to follow, but it is the kind of thing where if I sat and watched it a couple more times without all the descriptions and synopses, and I was really focused on it, I think I could follow it all right. But it was very weird, and in the modern style of not doing as much exposition dumps and doing it more with, you've got to pay attention and you got to listen to every word they say, and it's almost like neo-realism but with a plot. NV5F.
Okay, well, thank you, Virginia. Interesting. You helped me with my comments coming up along the way. But before I do that, I'll go ahead and ask anyone else who'd like to join us this evening. We were talking about the Zero Theorem, the Terry Gilliam film from 2013. You don't have to necessarily have seen the film, but if you would like to check in and let us know you're out there, that would be fine too. Please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see the film? Please come now.
November 5 Sierra Quebec Alpha, Ron. No, just checking in. Been listening for about 2 minutes. N5SQA.
Kilo Bravo 9, 0 Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this film.
Okie dokie, I think the usual suspects have arrived. I got N5SQA Ron. He did not see the film, but he's listening intently. I got KB5SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, he saw the film. So, Sean, you're next on the list. What did you think about the plot for our fine film for tonight from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I did find it kind of interesting. In this film, I definitely didn't have a problem staying awake. There was enough stuff going on to keep your attention, for sure. I think everybody's pretty well actually kind of covered this. Yeah, this movie definitely depends upon, I do agree, with, the comments about it may depend upon where you are in your life, how you feel the ending really ended. It's definitely meant for you to decide, kind of looking back at it, I had my 20-year-old self had watched this, I would have probably come to a very different conclusion than I would have now. Because now, as you grow older, you obviously change your opinions on things, and I definitely look at it quite different now. So yeah, as everybody said, this is obviously a film about discussing the basics and meaning of life. Are we, do we have a purpose, or are we just an accident, or was it just pure pure accident, are we a fluke? So yeah, this really kind of breaks it down to whether, I think you're more of a person of faith or maybe not, or somewhere in between. And I think all those scenarios can answer basically different meanings for you. In the end, I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it. I have my conclusions, and I almost kind of hate to say it because, once again, I think it very much depends upon each person where they're at. In the end, we obviously do see that, some of the questions you might have is, as well, did he really destroy the net or not? I mean, he was in the net. He was in the suit. That's how he was able to talk to them. That's how he got to outer space. That's how he eventually got back to the beach. Obviously we don't see his girlfriend there. But then again, he kept saying to the film he'd rather be alone. We know he was married once before and got divorced. And that may have been, they didn't really come out and say it, but I kind of got the feeling that's when the phone call thing started coming to him. Because I think he was definitely having a, what's happening in my life, what am I going to do moving forward? And that may be when all that happened, and why he still was looking for somebody to help him or have that faith that he would get that answer. In the end, I don't know if he really truly got it. I think he did. I think he came to grips with, just letting go and enjoying life. I think he ended it in his happy place. I think he was remembering back to the time on the beach with the girl. But, even though he was there alone at that time, I think he was finally letting go. He was willing to interact with the environment and play. The only downside is early in the movie they said they were coming to get all the gear. So the next day, would that dream end for him? Or is he somehow permanently stuck in the net somehow? So, yeah, I think this is very interpretive upon really where you're at and how you feel about all of those questions. And, I kind of like this film. I thought it was interesting. It was definitely a little odd. It had a very, very dry humor, as Bruce mentioned. But I definitely wanted a comedy, but they tried to throw a little bit in there, I think, to break it up a little bit. But overall, found it very interesting. I was surprised that Cruz didn't mention the bikini. He always mentioned bikinis when there's bikinis. Anyway, back to that. This is KP9. It's okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. Thank you for those comments. Well, good. I guess this makes it easy because when you're net control, then you can take everybody else's ideas and throw them all together and say, I thought of that too. Just crib off of other people's hard work, which is what I'm about to do anyway. I would agree with what everybody had said, and in essence, too, is that, it has to do with your perspective. And I think that the whole thing that kept Conan alive was the fact that his own faith. That it was what kept him going on the project that management had created for him to do. And management was just looking for ways of creating, order out of chaos, which is essentially what the zero theorem was supposed to do. It was supposed to give him determine also what the big crunch, the big bang and the big crunch, and how it was all going to end into nothingness. And, we all sit there and say, well, was it really worth all of that? Was the more meaning of life the classic story, I guess, right? But, it's an individual thing, like everybody says, and I think that is a common story that we get. Just happens to be done in kind of a wacky, weird sort of way. But that's what's great about film, is that you can take and make just about anything happen on celluloid, starting with the very earliest films. The fantastic trip to the moon, remember? From Earth to the Moon was like that, the original French version. So, Terry Gilliam's able to do that and able to create kind of that weird, wacky world to keep us interested. And in this case, it was very vibrant color. I guess that's really the third section, but I think that helps it as well. Is we created kind of this weird pseudo world. So I don't know. Hang on. How does one interpret it? I guess any way that you want, because that's kind of how it plays out. And then the ending is what you want it to be. Was it a happy ending or a sad ending? which, by the way, is kind of interesting because I was down in Corpus and was at my parents' condominium, and downstairs in the elevator area, there's in the lobby area, there's very much that same kind of look as was at the end of the film we watched last night, and that is it's a beach area with an umbrella and some foods out on a table out on the beach, and you see some footsteps some shoes left in the thing and some footsteps in the sand that go off to the right, and then there's no one in the picture. And of course, I think of something completely different. I figure that they got swept out to sea and never to be seen again. That's kind of how I sometimes think, which is really kind of weird. But every time I see that painting, I think that they got swept out to sea. So that's the ending, the happy ending, sort of, kind of. Especially if you didn't like the people that were there, but I have no idea what they look like, so I don't know if they were good, wonderful, beautiful people, terrible people, just don't know. I just think they got swept out to sea. Although I think they added the footsteps only to suggest that they were walking along the beach, not swept out to sea. I think the footsteps were added later, which is kind of what they did with this one. It's just that, you have to add your own footsteps in order to make the story work. I don't know what else to add. Outside of that, I think that part was pretty much for his phone call, which was turned out to be a faux pas. It wasn't real, and that was his faith that kept him going, and that's what he used in literally a leap of faith going into his black hole and coming out the other side. We think, although we don't know where he went or what he did. But then we have the same thing. When we die, we really don't know. So until it happens, and then I'm not sure we'll know anyway. But that's another story for another time. All that stuff. All right, let's go ahead and move on to characterization. We got a bunch of characters in here that were quite interesting, about a dozen of them. So we'll start at the top with Brenda, and I may call upon the rest of the gang here, Bill and Tony and Ron, if they're still around, and ask them what they think about our analysis, or if they have something to add. But first I'm going to go ahead and do this round, and then we'll do that. So starting with Brenda, WB50ZL, what did you think about characterization on our fine film? Tonight's movie, The Zero Theorem, 2013.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I thought the characterization was pretty good. Christoph Waltz, who I'd never really heard of, was the main character. And you look, he's got 2 Oscars and 2 Golden Globes and a whole bunch of other awards. He usually plays a secondary character. He's often the villain. He's been a Bond villain. He got an Oscar for his role in Inglourious Bastards. And an actor. And look him up under, images. Used to be extremely handsome and dashing and, handsome enough to be a leading man, in my opinion. But, in this one, you didn't see much of the handsome come out. You did sometimes peek through, but generally they tried to make him kind of unattractive. And it certainly was very dour and, unhappy people generally are not pretty people. But the kid was brilliant, and the girl did a good job. The AI therapist was Tilda Swinton, who is so weird on a good day. But she was just perfect, and you just have to question, what if you really did have a therapist like that? Which I would turn the thing off. I wouldn't sit still for that. I thought Matt Damon was just kind of wasted. He was just a name to put in there. He showed up and they shot for 2 hours and then he went home. I've always been a pretty big fan of his, though. he was okay, but it wasn't much of a part, so there wasn't much for him to do. A lot of other secondary characters who were, a lot of them very strange. I almost feel like this is one of those movies of, let's just see how over the top we can go. And let's just make it really weird, because the more weird it is, the more interesting, funny, whatever. Not sure that's always true, but it looks like that's what they were shooting for here. Of course, I have it on good faith that the meaning of life is 42, so he should have read the book. I don't know why he would continue to search. Such a common story of people searching for meaning. I've yet to talk to anybody about getting a phone call like that. I thought I'd make up a story about getting a phone call and wondering why the rest of you haven't gotten yours yet. But I think most of us just go to our graves still wondering what the purpose of it all is, if any. And it's an age-old question. I'd love to know who the first caveman was that wondered about that. Be interesting. All right, back to net. WV50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brendan. I'm glad you got your phone call. Well, you said you made it up, but maybe you did get your phone call. I don't know. You're just you're changing your story. Next is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on characterization from KE5I6.
KI5KWG. Characterization was I thought, outstanding. The Cohen character, and I've forgotten the girl's name, Brazy or something like that. They had such odd parts with odd dialogue, odd costumes, odd sets, and I thought they just did a remarkable job of bringing those characters where you could ignore all the rest and just focus on them. And that seemed to have been must have been one of the most difficult acting jobs. And I thought they did a fine job, and I guess Terry Gilliam gets credited for the directing this that way. I was impressed. Let's see, notes. I'm going through notes. I know it's characterization, so we're just going to pretend that that's what I'm talking about. 1, ninth configuration. It's on my list to do this weekend, since this film reminded me so much of it, and I love that film. And it is streaming on Amazon Prime right now with commercials. So I don't know if everybody has access to that or not, but that's what I'm going to watch tomorrow. Now, notes. We start with a character named Cohen, which is a Hebrew word, priest, preacher, teacher, and a burned-out church waiting for a call. There's your symbolism. So, yes, Tom mentioned I talked about Nietzsche and nihilism, or nihilism if you prefer, and they were talking about the entropy, the physics of the opposite of the Big Bang, and where suddenly out of nothing is all this creation, and it expands away at tremendous speed. All time and matter come into being, and eventually gravity does its thing and pulls everything back, which they probably thought still in 2013 when this came out, and that it would all collapse again back into a singularity and become nothing, chaos and nothingness, vacuum again. So that made me go, oh, well, this is nihilism. This is Nietzsche's God is dead scenario going on. So now what? And so let's see. I have that. Church. It's all bright, but it's ugly. It's dirty. Everything's about materialism, shallow religions being marketed on their ads everywhere. You've got management who has a study on purpose and meaning that they're all working on. Everybody's involved in that study. But management, we find out very late in the film, doesn't care about the results. It's only the semblance of bringing order out of chaos, which they will market, even though they're admitting that it will always return back to chaos. That was basically Matt Damon's job in this film, was to make that statement. So the machines that they're all working on, they represent that something bigger in life. But the machines, we find out, again through the Matt Damon character, management, they only see humans as tools. So there is no purpose. There is no meaning. That's nihilism. All right. So now, enter the soul suit. I'm still going through my notes and I'm almost done. He has to put on this specially designed soul suit, which has the Q for his name on the front of it. So it's specially for him, the one who's been waiting on the call for meaning and purpose all these years. And the machine protests and fires him and says, you, the manager, you are no longer needed. And that was when he plugged into the machine, is when the machine realized, uh-oh, we don't want this. So what I finally wrote down is, then the human begins to unplug and smash the machine. Nietzsche's nihilism, entropy, no meaning, no purpose, God is dead, all that cannot withstand the human soul. Remember, it's the soul suit. And I was like, I love this movie. I love this movie. So that's what I think he was trying to tell us. And if that's not what he meant, he left it open for us, and I'm always going to use that excuse. So I like this very much. Tilda Swinton, Matt Damon, the only two characters I actually recognized in this, actors I recognized in this film. They had weird parts, but they did well. All right, I'm done. K-High 5, KWG, back to net.
Oh, thank God you explained it. Jeez. Okay, very good. Now I don't have to worry and struggle. Virginia, NV5F, your thoughts on characterization, please, from KE5ICS.
Okay, well, I, like others, think the acting was pretty good. I mean, it was a high-quality production with good talent, and the characters were interesting. The main character, Cohen, and I guess his suit had a Q on it because everybody, for some reason, mispronounced his name Quinn all the way through it. I don't know the meaning of the name Quinn. I believe it's an Irish name. I do know that Cohen literally means priest. It doesn't mean preacher or teacher. It literally means the priest who is in the temple, who makes sacrifices, and represents the people to God. He is God's representative of the people. That's literally what Cohen means. I'd like to look up Quinn and see what it means. It's almost like he sort of had his name changed in the process, and as he was going through his process of getting out of the nihilistic sort of self-feedback loop of looking so hard for your purpose that you miss what your purpose is. And I do like Cruz. I like your interpretation of the. And I mean, I saw that fairly clearly at the end that the message here was that what is often presented as the way to find purpose and the way to practice faith is, I think, often the opposite of really living. It's almost like, oh, wait to live after you die, wait for eternity, and that's a lot of people's philosophy, is focus so much on eternity that you're just like, oh, well, when things suck here, I'm done with this place anyway. I'm just waiting for eternity. but then you're waiting for it, and all you can see in the future is this swirling black hole of dreary, this isn't me, it doesn't make sense to me, it's, and all your specialness gets lost in the kind of swirl of dreary, mundane, waiting for a phone call every day. And so I did like how his character was used to show that and show kind of the neurosis and the mental disorders that can cause. Gone to an extreme, of course. I liked the girlfriend and how she changed. I liked that they both had character arcs, that she didn't just, she was sent as a tool to, I guess, check up on him and suck him in, to their system or whatever. But she was changed by him, by seeing his sincerity and his faith, even though he was very quirky. The kid, the management's son, I thought that was an interesting twist to throw a kid into it. I did not expect that. His acting was good. He was likable. He was kind of annoying, but they did it all in a way that you see the characters kind of change and be changed by each other and affected by one another. And the other characters, his boss and the heavies from the company, the weird short guy and the tall dude in the funny suits, and I got some vibes of Beetlejuice and Tim Burton, with some of the characters and the colors and I mean the meaningless, high stimulation, overstimulating environment of the future, and virtual reality and all that. I mean, I see that all happening like now, and it's all very much more cleverly disguised than it would be in a film. But I see us, content, and we're all overstimulated, and it does get harder and harder to find purpose in that kind of environment. And like all the little petty religions, we have that. I mean, we have, things in our culture that used to be, Brenda and I talk a lot about science fiction conventions, and they used to be these, and there's still a few of them left. They used to be these really niche, very sincere, very unusual people, and all systems of belief, but they were these very, it was actually weird to be weird, and now it's kind of trendy. We've made it, we've marketed it and turned it into its own institution, and now, you go to 40,000, 60,000 fans show up, and all you do is spend money and stand in line, and people act like it's the greatest thing they've ever done because they've had it crammed down their throats by the marketers that it's a great experience. And same with Star Trek and all the stuff that used to be like really for people who had this kind of belief, like this guy, like we're kind of different, we're kind of special, we need to find each other. So I'm getting off on a tangent a little bit, but I thought the characters drove the plot, and it was a little hard to follow because the current style of character development and dialogue is not as direct as it once was, but I found them likable, and I found them interesting, and very quirky and offbeat, and this is definitely a film person's. If you're really filmy, this is definitely a film. But I thought it was all right. I'm not a big follower of specific actors, but I thought all the acting was good, and I did not get bored with them or find anybody completely annoying or acting bad or anything. So that's it for me. NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And this is KE5ICX. We're talking about tonight's movie is The Zero Theorem from 2013. Next on the list of people who saw the film is Sean, KBE5SOK. Sean, what did you think of the characterization from KE5I6?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I agree with what everybody said. I think our three main characters in this were interesting, and I do think it was well acted. Obviously, our main person, and then obviously the girl and the young guy. I think they all had very interesting, arcs in this. And how they changed from the beginning to the end. I think the rest of the characters were almost kind of really just kind of throwaway, but they were still well done. It was definitely over the top, and could they toned it down a little bit? Probably, but at the same time, I think they were trying to, it's kind of a heavy subject. I think they were just trying to distract you a little bit from that, so it's a little easier to take in. But yeah, if you really wanted to get deep into it, they probably could have toned it down a bit. But all in all, I still enjoyed it. It's still very interesting. So yeah, I don't have a lot more to add to that. So yeah, back to that. KB9SOK.
Okay, well, short and sweet. Nothing wrong with that. I've got really nothing else to add at this point. Characters were quite interesting and colorful, literally and figuratively, as you mentioned. I thought Christoph Waltz was very good as Conley. He was a very interesting character and a very interesting actor. I remember this guy, I think, in one of the Bond films, vaguely, and yeah, this is a very different role for him. And I think Gilliam used him too very effectively. Bainsley's character was interesting. Bainsley was likable, played by Melanie Deary. And I thought that she was quite engaging throughout the thing, and the fact that they're turned into a romance along the way was rather interesting and kind of fun. We don't know what happened to that romance, of course. It was quite interesting. The Bob character, the son of the management's son, was quite good. The Lucas Hedges fellow kid was quite good. And as somebody else mentioned, he's slightly annoying, but he's supposed to be a kid that's slightly annoying. But overall, it was still engaging and helped to move things forward a little bit, gave it a little bit of context to everything. Otherwise, we'd have just the dementia guy going slowly insane, and Bainsley there trying to quell him. So you need somebody to kind of provide sort of a repartee back and forth. I did not know. I know I'm stupid, but I did not know that was Matt Damon. He looked very familiar as management, but I just couldn't place him. He sounded familiar, and I thought he did fine. It was a very, very limited role, but I thought it was interesting. And as it says here in the wiki, Al Pacino was considered for the role, possibly, but I think Damon did just fine. It was more reserved than I think Al Pacino would have done. The other characters, less interesting, I think. Let's see here, who would I miss? Joby, the boss. He was okay. He's kind of the guy that was just sort of trying to hang on for dear life, and was worried about everything that Colin did, or Quinn did and said, and management. Then he ends up losing his job anyway. Sounds like real life. I mean, best laid plans are ruined. So overall, the interaction was fine. All the acting was slightly over the top, but that's to be expected from the Terry Gilliam films. I don't mind that. I thought it was kind of interesting. Of course, I didn't say much really of substance on these characters. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Anyone else want to check in before I continue? Please come with your call now. All right, before we move to the next round, I'm going to go ahead and give folks who didn't see the film an opportunity to say something tonight. So I'm going to start at the top with Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you got anything to say about the film? Is this something you would want to see? Have you seen the Terry Gilliam films, and what are your impressions from KE5ICX?
It's been very clear to me that people have really been moved to think deeply about this movie. So, yes, absolutely, this is something I want to see. I'm going to have to go to bed here any minute now. Unfortunately, it's just been a long day. But yet, I didn't want to go to bed without checking it out because people kept saying interesting things. And I think that a net that has prompted such reflection is a reflection of a movie that was interesting and worthy of some merit. So I'm definitely strongly intrigued. NT5T, I'm going to bed, but not without interest in the movie.
Okay, very good. We're probably going to pack it up here in a little bit as well, but glad you're still stuck around and listened in. Bill, W5BLT, you got any comments? What do you think about our choice this week?
Hey, Tom. Yeah, I definitely want to watch it, so I'll probably send you over an email for the link. For some reason, I still have some trouble on Facebook with making the links work. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, or if it's an assistive technology iOS thing. But yeah, I think now I'm going to have to could have Monday off, so I probably watch it then. Interesting. Obviously, one of those more, I guess, deep-thinking movies, and paying attention to the dialogue and stuff. So, yep, I'm definitely in for it. Back to Net Control, W5BLT.
Okay, very good, Bill. And let me know if there's anything I can do. I do send the email out. I know that I use Yahoo Mail, and it has a tendency to want to change it into a link with a picture. I don't know if there's something I need to do. Perhaps what I'll do is I just send you the link without hitting the entry key, so that then it doesn't pop in with special fonts and all that. Maybe that's an answer. I'm not sure. Let's see. Ron, N5SQA. Ron, I give you a chance to say anything you want. What do you got? If you're still there, I think you might be. What do you think? Is the film you want to see? From KE5ICX.
Yes, I'm still here. Thanks for the opportunity, Tom. I totally agree with Tony. I've lurked on these conversations many times, and I'm impressed by everybody really thinking about what's going on in this film, which I did not see, but now, based on comments I heard here, I definitely want to see it. My earliest experiences with sci-fi were back when I was a kid, and I was always what made them good for me was I was delighted by the thought experiments they proposed. And as I got older, knew more about the real world and stuff and so on, and I became harder to delight. So haven't been paying a lot of attention to sci-fi lately. But this movie sounds like something I should invest some time in, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this. N5SQA, back to Net.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ron. And I'll amplify that. What I appreciate about this, and particularly this net, is that I will sometimes get lost in the films. I get a little probably too literal, or maybe distracted. I'm not sure which, but it's nice to have folks come back around and have done due diligence on the film, and then can provide a little bit more illumination as to what the plot means, or potentially what it means and what they got out of it. And this is probably one of the best things about this net is that people and we've had over the years, we've done this for a number of years, we've had a number of different people who have checked in and been regulars and disappeared and come back, and all of them with varying backgrounds and different understanding of films, and provide a real good narrative for all of these films. And I'm really pleased that we've been able to do this for so many years and have that kind of quality, because it does happen. Not from me, but from others. I think that's really cool. Okay, this is the final round. This one we get to talk about special effects. This one should be fairly easy. So we'll start with Brenda, WB50ZL. What did you think of special effects and or anything else you want to add or amplify about the film from KE5ICX?
This is WB50ZL. Well, I don't know about special effects. There just wasn't much. Everything was colorful and interesting, and it moved along at a fast pace. But there wasn't too much in the way of special effects. I just don't have a whole lot more to say about this, unfortunately. Would I watch it again? I might. Just to try and catch some things. This is one of those movies where there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, or you might not even notice it the first time through.
Okay, I think you're done. Are you?
Thought the music was pretty good. It was okay. I'd like to know if Jerry Gillum has made a movie since this. It cost between $8 and $13 million to make, and they only pulled in $2 million. I mean, less than $2 million. So whoever put the money up for this is not going to do this again. I'm really baffled as to why it just didn't make any money. There may be more to the story. It meets the eye. Maybe the competition it had, or it's amazing. A lot of times they'll spend a lot of money making a movie and then not spend any promoting it, and it really hurts it. It's just they've thrown their money away. On the other hand, they may say, why throw good money after bad money after, well, just cut our losses. So I'd be curious to know the story beyond that. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. This is WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And yes, he did do a movie in 2018. It took a while to get funding. A budget of $32.1 million for The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. That was the film that he did. I'm not aware of this film. I don't know if it made any money or not. Only release, I don't see anything here. It doesn't say how much money. Eventual walk, well, looks like that one had a lot of issues too. All right, let's move on to Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, what do you got on special effects or anything else you want to add about the film? Please go ahead. KE5ICX.
There were special effects in this film? KI5KWG. Yeah, there were. It just they didn't overwhelm you. And a lot of times, we did 2001: A Space Odyssey a couple of weeks ago. That was, you could have spent the whole time just talking about the special effects. This wasn't anywhere near. There's nothing groundbreaking in it, but it was fairly elaborate, I thought. The sets were, at least, and I would consider that special effects in a sci-fi film. But again, overcome by acting and the KI5 KWG back to net.
Okie dokie, thank you, Cruz. And Virginia, NV5S, your thoughts on special effects or anything you want to add about the film?
Okay, well, found the music generally unmemorable, but that's not too uncommon with movies these days. I mean, I know this was 10 years ago, but just the art of writing a real character-driven kind of soundtrack score is that's almost gone anymore. So I don't even remember the music. The point I guess I would want to make after people not feeling like that much about special effects is that there's a difference between special effects and visual effects, and now the line is so blurry because computers do such good visual effects that it's hard to tell what's really there and what's not. And this was definitely a dense, kind of busy environment, lots of texture, lots of lights and lighting and animation and screens, and some of it was obviously computer animation when they were in the Zero Theorem world, working on and I thought some of the visuals of all the math formulas was kind of cool. I enjoy looking at all the crazy physics equations and all that. But that was all done like their computer environment that they programmed in was almost like a giant video game. Instead of having a keyboard, you have this video game controller, and so they got to do a bunch of video game virtual reality kind of stuff, and they had some cheesy kind of 2D graphics for the websites that were, kind of interactive, but sort of 2D, 2.5D. Lots of, very detailed, stacked, layers of environments like in the church, and that's art direction. But special effects are even hard to pick out of a movie. It's so hard to tell what's really being done and what's being done in a computer. That's VFX. And that is different, and the difference between this and 2001 is that they didn't have any computers for 2001, so it was all special effects and some visual effects with film techniques, double exposures and things, but so that's kind of just the point I would want to make, is that there was a lot of visually going on. I'd say 99% of what was there was visual effects. And some of the stuff in the dream sequences was interesting. Some of the underwater, or the VR part, I guess, where they're in the virtual reality world together, the swirling black hole was, I think, intentionally meant to look kind of flat and weird and surreal, and obviously not to look realistic, and kind of to look more like a dreamscape, and the colors and things were interesting, and the underwater scene was pretty well done, but that's probably mostly computer stuff, and you didn't really, nothing stuck out or looked bad or anything. I thought it was all pretty visually pleasing and interesting. There were some dark tones to things, but nothing just terrible to look at or super dreary. So yeah, I thought it was all right in V5F.
Yep, I agree with you. It's very hard to know what are special effects and what are not. Sometimes I've seen side-by-side green screen with moving cameras and everything, and the sets themselves don't exist. And television's very much like that right now, and you can't tell the difference between the real thing from the fabricated or created digital world, and that's been amply illustrated, particularly in the new Star Wars films and the Star Trek television, or the new Star Wars series and the Star Trek series, and that, where they really look good or even better than some of the movies that have come from the past. All right, very good. Bill, W5BLT, I got your email, and yes, I will add you to the list so that you can get the movies that way. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. I know I sometimes do it KB5, but I know it's KB9SOK. So, Sean, what do you got? A final on special effects, or anything else you want to add about the movie itself from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9. Okay. It's going all right, Tom. I know you're used to saying 5 for most of the people around here. Among the few 9s, I guess, live in the area, so it's going all right. Yeah, not a lot to add. I think it's already been said that there really wasn't a lot as far as even sets in this film. We had the church, and that felt like a real set. And when they were out in the city, I think most of that was, short, and I think most of that was mostly CG. Not a lot there, other than just, everything's very colorful. The PRs, is probably the most special effects they had, but yeah, it did feel very flat, and it was very obvious to tell that was fake. But I think that was intentional, because that I did remember watching that part of thinking, wow, this clearly doesn't look real, but I think that was part of it. So yeah, there wasn't really a lot there as far as special effects, or I guess they had okay costumes. The music was nothing really special. So yeah, not a lot in that area for a science fiction movie. I would be curious, and I didn't pause and look any of it up, but yeah, when they were showing all the different math theorems, I wonder if any of those were real ones, or if they just were, randomly putting things together. Did they actually hire somebody that is obviously very knowledgeable about theorems and actually put some real formulas up there or not? I didn't stop and try to look any of them up, but hopefully they did, because it's probably, they showed a lot of that. But anyway, yep, looking forward to the next one. Back to net, KB9SOK.
All right, very good. Thank you, Sean. I don't really have much to add overall to the special effects. Yeah, I think most of it was probably done on green screen. With the possible exception of the church itself, I'm not sure. I don't know. I have to go back and look at, as was mentioned, the special effects are so good anymore, it's really hard to know what's an actual practical set versus one that's been digitally created, so it's hard to figure out. Even in 2012, it was getting very good at being able to fool us. So that's very true. Overall, I thought the film was very vibrant, by the way. I love the colors. It's not typical of Terry Gilliam films. It's very vibrant color that you see throughout it. Most of his dystopian films and things that he's done are less color, although there have been exceptions. I'm going through and I pulled a bunch of movies from Tubi, and that was probably a bad idea, because Tubi or not Tubi is not Tubi for the two movies that I had chosen coming up the next couple of weeks. Was Time Cop for next week, and then Absolute Zero the week after that. So without that, unless I can find them through alternate means, meaning that it's available on a different streaming service, we're going to go ahead and watch The Man Who Turned to Stone from 1957. This is what I wrote about it. Dr. Murdoch was a quack, and everyone knew it. He was a failed urologist and didn't know which end of the UCD to use. Instead, he found a job at a local young women's detention home. Yes. This was an unlikely real ad in a local newspaper, but then Murdoch wasn't particularly bright in many other ways. So I will send out the final determination, but if I can't find these other two films, I'm just going to go ahead and move The Man Who Turned to Stone as to our movie for next week from 1957. I say 7-3 to everybody. Once again, I didn't think it was going to last very long, but we went 90 minutes like we nearly always do. So thank you for all who participated, and everyone, that would be everyone who checked in. And we'll do this again next week. We'll see you then. This is KE5ICX, and we say good night and good luck. This is KE5ICX, and now clear.